It's Kalamazoo Beer Week. It is TJ and Chris. It is One Well Brewing. All right, so I got to ask you guys, just kind of a really cool vibe in this building. It's awesome. What did you guys have to do, and how much work did it take to get to this point already?
It was, 6 months for about average 10 to 12 hours per day with just pretty much me, Chris, and friends and family. So we just went at it, and if we didn't know how to do it, we found somebody that did. But we didn't have much money to start this thing off with. So it was like, what can we get for free? Who can we find that has the expertise to do what we don't know how to do? And we just went at it, and we're like, let's make a spot that we want to hang out in, and it kind of turned out to be that.
Whose idea was it for the games? Because the games are phenomenal. It's too much. They're way too much fun.
You got to give that to Chris. He's that's how I first met him, actually. Playing board games at his house through the mutual friend. And
what, really?
Yeah.
So I had a collection of over 50 board games when we started working on the project, and I said, man, I don't see a lot of these, because the 50 were mainly very strategical games, but I said, maybe all of these aren't going to get played at the bar, but I was like, if they sit on my shelf at home, they're just going to collect dust.
Right.
So we really wanted to promote a board game culture. Now we have a lot of the staple games, for your Sorry and your Monopoly and your Trouble and
Cards Against Humanity. Yeah.
But we offer a lot of strategy games as well. It's really something that a lot of our customers have really picked up on. We'll see groups of 4, groups of 6 sometimes come in and just sit down and.
I saw 2 long tables playing one. I mean, it was crazy. It was just really cool.
It's awesome to see. Like every night, we got about half the people in here playing a game of sorts. So it's neat because we've always embraced that culture of we don't have TVs here. We want people to actually interact with one another, and board games are a great way for people to do that. So.
Well, even the big long tables. I mean, even that, where you're sitting next to somebody that you probably don't know, or odds are you're gonna have to strike up a conversation at some point. So it's a cool vibe. I mean, that vibe in itself, you've done a great job of being able to.
And like I said before, we just created a place where we want to hang out with real darts, pinballs, arcades. Just a cool spot where people aren't burying their heads in their phones. They're actually talking with each other and enjoying what this place has to offer. Because to us, that's what craft beer is all about, sharing a pint with somebody you like and having a conversation.
And moving away from that TV vibe where, a lot of people go to a place and, you just get sucked into watching whatever sports are on TV, or maybe they forgot to change the channel and next thing you know, you're watching daytime soap operas or Maury Povich or something crazy like that. But,
Doesn't happen here.
Doesn't happen here.
Nope.
Why'd you decide brewing? I mean, are you both? Do you both brew?
Just Chris. Chris is the mastermind behind that.
TJ just drinks a lot.
That's a beautiful thing, though. I mean, you really think about it. It's like, okay, why not get into brewing then?
Exactly.
These are all your brainchild? These are all your ideas?
Yep. So probably close to 8 years ago, I was sitting with one of my buddies, and we had just gotten our first big boy jobs out of college, making a little extra cash than we never had before, you know. And so we said, we need a new hobby. So what are we going to do? Well, my buddy looks at me and he goes, well, we could be making our own beer. And instantly I was like, wait, what? We can make our own beer? He goes, well, yeah. So him and I pitched together about $500, bought our first kettles and basically a kegerator as well. So we didn't have to do the bottling, which becomes
sucks. I've done it. It's horrible.
So yeah, we pulled our money together, got all the equipment, and then started in our backyard. Brewing beers 5 gallons at a time, and after a while, we really kind of honed things in on the extract side, so we figured we'd step it up to all grain, and then from there went from making 5-gallon batches to more of 25-gallon batches. Obviously, my friend pool just kept growing because people were like, man, free beer, let's do this.
No kidding, right?
Always being entrepreneurial minded, I was always looking for what can I do? What can I do here that could be my own thing? And really never, at least in the initial stages, thought that, opening up a brewery was going to be me. But, I stuck with it, kept making beers, things kept getting better and better, and then finally decided that was going to be something that I was really interested in. Met TJ probably a year or two after that, and really kind of saw a lot of potential in what TJ was bringing to the table. He never once was like, oh, well, you need to make this kind of beer, or you need to do it this way, but he was like, I can help you take this to the next level. So basically, we tell people all the time, they're like, you and TJ must have been friends forever. And I always tell people, I'm like, we're not even friends. But yeah, a mutual friend of ours introduced the two of us together, and basically said, hey, you guys both have mutual goals, to own your own business, and TJ was interested in microbreweries mainly because he always found himself at one. But yeah, so we met and decided that if it was going to be something that we were going to do, we'd have to jump both feet in. So we decided after knowing each other for maybe a month or two that we'd start working on a business plan, and sat down, really just started hammering it out.
Was that tough to make that decision, or was it easy?
I think for both of us it was pretty easy because we both, like Chris said, we didn't know what we wanted to do, but we both wanted to own our own business one day, and this is just a natural fit. We both love the culture of craft beer. You go to microbreweries, you run into people that you maybe have never talked to again, but you have a great conversation. And I always say, probably every interview I say, I never have met an asshole at a microbrewery. And I want to be a part of this industry, and Chris wanted to be a part of this industry. So just, finding the complementing skill sets between the two of us, I think it made it super easy. There was never really a question. Like, all right, let's just do it. We're young. If we fail, hey, at least we tried, right? So
right.
Plus, not knowing much about TJ probably helped me jump more 2 feet in.
Were you worried that it was crowded already? Because Kalamazoo, let's face it. We've got a lot of breweries. There's a lot of places that are doing similar things.
And to say that wasn't a concern, would be stupid. But at the same time, the plan had been in place to do this before. Before a lot of these other places had opened up. And because like I said, I was basically sure that I was going to do this about 2 years before we started, which was right around the time that Rupert's had opened up, right around the time that Tibbs had opened up, and really was initially inspired by Pawpaw Brewing when I went out there and saw, really that they were making it happen on a small scale, and said, that's why I stepped up my home brewing to bigger batches. I figured, if Pawpaw could do it, doing 30 gallons at a time, if I could do home brew at 25 gallons, then at least we'd have a place to start. Ended up scrapping that idea because we were able to step up and get a bigger brew system. So
what was it like those early days? Was there any point in time where you're like, oh my God, what have we done?
Every day. So
yeah. Well, a lot of people had told us it was going to take 6 months for us to get our licensing anyway, so we figured, we'd go ahead. The first step was looking at places, so we looked at a couple places downtown, and, like you had said about being crowded, we figured that, downtown might not be the good opportunity, mainly because, there's many places downtown to go, microbreweries, bars, clubs, all kinds of things going on downtown. Mainly the spaces that we had looked at were all 100% built out. So they were just blank space, no bathrooms, no outlet plugs, no water run, none of that stuff. And we said we would never be able to afford that. So in the search for the building, ended up, the realtor's like, hey, there's a place out on Portage that I'd really like to show you. And I'm thinking, man, out on Portage, what is he talking about? He's like, yeah, it used to be a restaurant, everything's good to go. So then he mentioned, the old Brewster's location. And I said, man, that's going to be way too big for us. And initially we were looking to be, more of the size of Tibbs. So he came in here, he showed us the building, and TJ and I looked at each other and said, man, this has everything that we need to get up and going. Kitchen space built out, we did a complete facelift on the look, the aesthetic of the place. Yeah. But being that, like TJ said, we reclaimed a lot of materials, be it pallet wood, old bricks. We found, old Western surplus supply chairs. We said, well, we can really make this happen. And with the space and the amenities that are offered, that puts us way closer in the ballpark with our shoestring budget that we were working with. If something was basically already built out, then, that was going to be better than trying to build something out from the start. So we saw this location. We said, look, there's nothing really close to here. The neighborhood doesn't have a local watering hole. And we really wanted to become that. So fast forward to picking a name, we wanted to be One Well Brewing because we figured that really symbolizes community. Many years before indoor plumbing, everybody had to go to the well to get their water, whether it was going to be for bathing or for drinking or whatever. So, a lot of the towns would gather around the center of the town, which ended up being where the well was, and sharing ideas, sharing culture, sharing, just community in general. So we based our business off of that, and now we found that it really is that place. It's a nice community gathering spot where people come, and you may not know anybody when you walk in the door, and you may leave with 2 of your best lifelong friends. So
there's nights where you guys look around and go, holy cow, look at this place is, there's people everywhere.
Yeah,
it's like every night.
Yeah, it's crazy because when Chris said, this is going to be way too big for us. A year later, we're like, wow, this is already too small for us. So everybody says it's a good problem to have. It's a great problem to have.
Right.
And we're thrilled that we're in this location. This Millwood neighborhood supported us. It's unbelievable the reception we've gotten here. And we're right off the highway, so we get a lot of beer tourists too. That it's just a natural first or last stop when you're doing a Kalamazoo Beer tour. So yeah, maybe it was serendipity that this location became available, but yeah, we're happy to be here.
All right, so let's talk about the beer because that's what's bringing them back. I
Yep.
mean, you guys have what would be considered one of the most unique boards in town.
Yeah.
Take that. You take that with flag and run with it, or
You know, everybody always asks me what my favorite style is. They say, hey, I bet you're an IPA guy or you're a stout guy. And, what I tell people is, I tend to gravitate towards whatever's different. And, I've had a million IPAs. I've had a million stouts. I like IPA. I like stout. But I like different, something different. So, that's why you'll find, the Jalapa, which is our non-spicy jalapeno beer. It gives you all the flavor of the jalapeno without the spice, because we've all had a spicy beer that may have turned us off to pepper beers. But the Professor Nut Butters, a lot of people go dark and chocolatey with their peanut butter ales, and we went with a nice light golden peanut butter ale that tastes more of a peanut butter sandwich than a Reese's peanut butter cup.
Right.
We have a root beer float stout, which is a milk stout that, since we make our own root beer, we figured, we can make a root beer, and that sells really well. It's a big favorite of a lot of people that come in here. And then, usually with the rotational stuff, we try to do different things. It surprises me that people still come and ask if we have an Oberon or whatever, And what I say to them is, there's plenty of different beers to be made, so we're gonna strive to make different stuff. If you want an Oberon, we're happy to send you to Bell's and get an Oberon. If you want a peanut butter porter, we're happy to send you to Rupert's to get a peanut butter porter. But when you come to One Well, we don't want people to say, well, they're making what Bell's is making, or they're making what Boatyard's making. We want to make what One Well makes, and I think that people do appreciate that. Maybe at first they're looking for something a little bit different, but after they try the offerings that we have, everybody usually walks away very happy.
what's the most popular beer?
Most popular seller?
Yep.
Our IPAs. That's across the industry. IPAs are always number one seller. For us, though, our two flagships would have to be Jalapa, which is the non-spiced jalapeno blonde.
It's delicious, by the way.
And then Sweetwater Street, which is a coffee donut porter made of some awesome local company ingredients. So.
Yeah, how did you come up with that one? Because that's brilliant and delicious.
I've always been a fan of coffee beers, and we talked about what complements coffee well, and we said, well, donuts, obviously. Being that we have such a great donut company in town with Sweetwater, we figured, hey, let's call them and see if that's something that they're okay with us doing. So we got in touch with Sweetwater Donuts, and we said, hey, we're interested in using your donuts in a beer. What do you think about that?
What did Greg say?
He said...
He was a little hesitant at first. He's like, yeah, I don't know. We talk to some people and get back to you. And then he came back. He's like, this is a great opportunity for both of us. I mean, he was a little concerned maybe that donuts are a more wholesome type of product than craft beer. But then I think when he looked back at it, we're not a liquor bar where you're going and pounding shots. We're a family-friendly place.
Right.
The culture in craft beer is a lot more open to everyone. It's not a destructive culture. Maybe like somebody drinking shots of 5 o'clock vodka. So he's like, yeah, I think I like it. Let's do it. So it's been great for both of us. I mean, we promote them, they promote us. Same for Water Street Coffee. It's really cool that we can support these companies and they're promoting what we're doing as well. So
Well, and it was pretty funny when we came up with the idea for the coffee donut beer, because we actually took the porter that we were already making and took a small section aside and said, well, let's try it. So we pitched donuts into this.
So there is donuts. I mean, there is.
Oh, yeah.
When you say donut holes, there really is Sweetwater's donut holes in there?
We put over 10 dozen donut holes in each batch. So, it's funny. I walk into Sweetwater's and I'm like, oh, hey, I'm the beer guy. I'm here to pick up the donuts. They're like, oh, donuts and beer. Every time they're like, did you bring samples? I'm like, come on down. We'll get you samples. But so we threw donuts in the beer, and, we had taken a couple people on the tour, and they saw what was happening, and they said, wait, what is that? And I said, well, that's a test batch, something with donuts in it. And donuts when is that coming on tap? So that was like the question that everybody asked. So it ended up when we did the first batch, I think we only did maybe 10 gallons and opened it up only to our Mug Club members. It just went over so well that we said, this has to be something that we do more of. People that have never been here before, they come in and they say, hey, I heard you have a donut beer. I need the donut beer now. It's great that, even though IPA tends to be the industry favorite, we have a jalapeno beer and a coffee and donut beer that sell number 2 and number 3 for us on a weekly basis. It's something that a lot of people really, really like.